We're live? Wait, hold on, let me pinch. Okay, hold on. Yeah, I guess we are live. No, actually, we're just replaying last week's Torah portion. I just changed the shirt. My shirt has a sunburn from last time, so it's got a little redder. All right, so welcome to the Tuesday night Torah Study here, sponsored by Beshalom and MTOI. All right. And so we want to welcome all of you here. I know we've got some of you, we got some people on live stream already? What do you got? How many? 94. So almost have 100 computers online already. Welcome to all of you online. Okay. So Manny is going to be handling the live stream desk. I assume Kurt will be on there at some point. So please give them your respectful attention to the protocols in the live stream room, please. Okay. So the way this is going to work, and for those of you that are new, you're not maybe aware of all how we do this, we're going to take up the prayer and the praise reports within the body. That'll only take a few minutes. Then we're going to get some announcements in. We'll open up in prayer. We'll read this week's Torah portion. I've got 7 readings for today. We'll read the Torah portion, and then we'll discuss the Torah portion. So I would encourage everyone, and I'll say this again before we start, to have out something you might want to write down and make a note. There may be a verse you have a question about, or maybe a comment you'd like to make, and you want to write it down so you can have the opportunity to do that when we get to that part of the study tonight. Okay, so we'll begin with praise and prayer. Steve is going to walk around with the mic, and Manny will be making note of those of you online. Okay, Rabbi Tom, it looks like he's going to go first.
Thank you. I'd like to ask everyone to pray for the tornado victims in Nashville and surrounding area.
Absolutely. Listen, for those of you, I'm sure most people know there was a series of tornadoes through the middle of Tennessee, and did quite a bit of damage basically in the Nashville area. And they've reported close to 25, I think, at this point, fatalities, yeah. And just a tremendous amount of destruction. You look familiar. All right, Rebbitz and Julie's here. Hey!
I have a praise report. My trip with my dad was very nice, and we got to bond a lot, heard stories from him that I never knew existed. And when I left him in good hands with my oldest brother and his wife. And my drive home was very beautiful. The weather couldn't have cooperated any better. And I'm just so glad to be back with my family. I thank everyone for your prayers and your support and your Marco Polos and your phone calls and your texts. Thank you.
Thank you. Amen. We are whole once again. Awesome. Fantastic. And also from my side of it, my folks were here. I know most of you didn't get to meet them. They didn't want to meet you. No, they don't. They're just not interested in all of this stuff. They came to see really the children, and so we did bring them to the building yesterday, so they got to see the school in full swing, which they really were impressed with. They got to see the whole operation here, so they were very impressed with that. They were only here on Sunday and Monday, and they left this morning, so they were just here for a brief time, and they had a very good stay, and now they're safely back home in New York, and anyway, so. Just wanted to let you know about that because I know we talked about that a little bit. Who's next? They love the house, yes. All right, bring it back to you. Do you need the mic, Manny? Okay. I think Marty's trying to get you a headset too, but go ahead and use that one for now.
All right. Okay. Let's see.
And while he's looking at the ones he has, everybody, if you have a cell phone, make sure you get it to silent. You might want to go ahead and turn that off. Okay, just make sure it's on silent mode.
Okay, we have anonymous mom prayer request from Jeannie. Please pray for my sister Laurie, as she's having a very difficult time adjusting with her mom gone. She was her mom's caretaker for 5.5 years. April, prayers for her mom who passed away last night. Shirley, prayer for a family member doing a second round of chemo. Carrie Ann, please pray for continued healing and restoration for me, and praise Yahweh for the healing thus far. Kay Carrick, prayer request. Please pray, Abba, give me wisdom, discernment, and shalom. Michelle Perez, prayers for all who have lost loved ones and for shalom in this time and for all victims of weather anomalies. Casey, please pray for job opportunities, graduating and will no longer be able to work at the university under work study. Sarah Beth, prayer for wisdom at work. Let's see, prayer for Jade, who has coronavirus suspected, and 6 of 12 people near her or him, her. Olivia and Janet Hoffman, we are praising the Almighty who is merciful and compassionate, who has blessed us in amazing ways. Lots of prayers answered. Todah, Father.
Amen.
Robert Hogg, prayers for sick and suffering. Melissa Rogers says prayers for Gabby, please. Seems like we're on a bit of a delay, but we have a ton of unspoken prayers and a lot of people just asking for healing from sicknesses and such. And I want to say thank you to everybody who prayed for my wife and my family during this time too. So thank you guys.
Amen. Amen. All right, so we want to lift up everyone that has contacted us since the last time we got together, which was on Shabbat, but it doesn't take, even if the last time we got together was yesterday, we would have had people contact us. We do get contacted every day with people with needs, and so certainly we want to pray for all those needs. And we want to praise our Creator for all the opportunities and all the blessings and interventions that He does have with us and the mercy He shows us. You know, it's times like this where, you know, sometimes we're praying for just some financial things or relationships and stuff, and other times there's tragedies. And I think that we should absolutely take the moment as we're dealing with these grieving, hard, challenging moments to recognize that, you know, with some people, we had some people that were very sick who eventually it ran its course. We had other people like today or last night with the tornado that nobody saw it coming. And so you don't know which one is going to be affecting you or your closest family member or friends. And so let's recognize that we waste time. Okay, and we have the biggest, you know, we're all about environmental and recycling and, you know, let's protect. How about let's not waste the number one resource we have? We waste time. And you can't get any of that back. You can't recycle it. Okay, you don't get any do-overs. And so when we have the opportunity, why not fix things with people? Why not heal things with people if possible? Of course, it takes 2 to do those things. And let's treat people as best we can, because you may regret it if they're not around, okay? Or if you're the one that's not around, what did you leave behind, okay? And so these are just opportunities like wake-up calls, little opportunities to say, wow, because some of you are very directly affected by this stuff. Others were not. But what about you? It will be you at some point. Somebody close to you will eventually pass, or it may be you and then the people you affected. And I think we should think about those things when we're not imminently in any of those things, and lay the foundation for those relationships and do all the things that we need. Take advantage of the time, okay? Take advantage of the time, because you only have so much of it. You know, you don't get any extra. They don't give you any more. Okay, we had one gentleman named Hezekiah who asked for some more. Okay, but generally speaking, you don't get extra time. Okay, now I know we look forward to a kingdom, we look forward to a time where there would be a resurrection, but that's in the future. What about now? Okay, because then there'll be no tears. He'll wipe away every tear. Then we won't have any of that. But now we still have all of these emotional upheavals and challenges. So Give comfort to one another, and be there for each other, and take full advantage of every second you've got. Because, like I said, there's a bunch of people right now up in Nashville and other parts of the world where tragedies happen on a regular basis that didn't see anything coming, and now that it's too late. And so let's do the best we can to do what Scripture tells us to love on one another, and not just worry about just loving on Him, which we should do, of course, but to love on one another, to really be there genuinely. That's why one of the things that, I'm excited about, I'm frustrated about, I get disappointed about, is that we're trying to provide a potential, opportunity for community here. And my negative emotions are only because it saddens me to see how there is a certain amount of people that take advantage of that, as far as like avail themselves of it. A lot of people don't really. And I think that's very sad. I think that they're missing out so much on the loving on each other part. Okay? And let me tell you something. Every one of you knows to love on somebody, Scripture tells you this. It means that you have to be willing and often to inconvenience yourself in order to love on somebody and to be there for them. You have to put them, esteem others above yourselves type of thing, right? Are you willing to inconvenience yourself? Forget about laying down your life for your brother. Most of us aren't even willing to inconvenience ourselves. Okay? So it may not be convenient to lose a little bit extra sleep to be here on a Tuesday night. It may not be convenient to do whatever to prepare for a Shabbat or an Erev Shabbat or some other thing. What does convenience have to do with it? Because you're going to need the love and the friendships, and what if they're not around because it wasn't convenient for them, the people you need? And quite frankly, you don't know who needs you. Forget about what you think you might need. But if you show up, you have no idea the blessing you might be to somebody if you would just be there, or the blessing you might receive. Because the right person at the right time will have a word in season, so to speak. So let's fully embrace the little wake-up call that reminds us how limited time is, and so therefore we should fully live in this present moment and love strongly and really do the things necessary. Amen? See? Yeah, and I think that surprised a few people. Don't think I have that side in me. But I do think about these things often, and that it's really important. And that's why I talk about the teaching that I jokingly talk about something called motivated by mortality. I mean, when you know that we are mortal, then you should be motivated to embrace every moment, and live it to the fullest. I've heard many a motivational guy talk about on a gravestone, it has the year they were born and the year they passed. And I said, the most important thing is the dash. What did they do with the dash between the two numbers? Okay, because right now, this is the dash. Okay, you are that little line between when you were born and whenever that date is that will be your last. And what are you going to do with that dash? That's the life story. That's your life. And so I think we need to really understand. That's why we're here, because we want to understand how to live this in the best way we can, in line with each other and in line with our Creator, so that we can have the most abundant life possible and be prepared for what's coming. Amen? And that was your mini sermon for today. And hopefully it was also a way to give comfort to those that are mourning losses, and also to encourage all of us who are going to and have in the past and at moments experienced these things, be prepared better for them, because you can feel like you want to get to those places with no regrets and not wishing you had done more, wishing you had done, you want to, as best you can. Now, some things you can't control because the other people don't cooperate or they're too far away, but you do the best you can so you can minimize those things. And so that gives the comfort. All right, so let's go ahead and pray, and we'll also open up the study with prayer. So let's see, where's the mic? Okay, Manny, you have the mic back there. No, Steve's got it. Who wants to open us in prayer? Okay, give it to Michael. Let Michael do it. That's why he gets to hide behind the camera. No, you're fine.
Abba, we come before you, humbling ourselves, preparing ourselves to receive this study today. And Father, we ask that it be a blessing to our spirit and our souls. And Father, all of those who are experiencing loss in some form or another, Father, I ask you that you would bring shalom and strength and emunah to them. We ask you these things in your Son's name, Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right, so let me go through some announcements real quickly, and then we'll start the Torah study. Just to remind everyone that this way we have probably more people now online, and we have more people here, so we can cover some of the announcements. Okay, so for all of you online and here, we do this every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, and you're all are welcome to come. We also offer a Shabbat service every week on Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. We have a program for the youth that goes through the Torah portions, just like we do this on Tuesday nights for the adults. It's called Parsha Pearls. It's on our website, ymtoi.org. Okay, so I'm just looking to see the slides. I'm used to the screen in front of me that I could look at, but we don't have it out there today. So the Parsha Pearls program is a fabulous program. It's free. It's for children of all ages, and it has a very, it's so complete, it's so full, it's so robust, it has so much material in it. Each week, it's probably about 60 pages in a PDF of information about that week's portion, ways to test the children who are going through it to see their knowledge of what they just went through. There are flashcards with the Hebrew words, a few words from each Torah portion. There are games like mazes and word search and crossword puzzles, those kind of things that you can do. And there are coloring pages. There's a craft, there's a snack, there's a song. Am I missing anything? I mean, there's so much stuff. It's so good to be able to look over. My wife's there, who's the director of the program, and just to ask those questions. And she puts the whole thing together and does a fabulous job. You know, I mean, she does ask me to, to oversee and just to make sure everything, but I don't think I can think of anything she's ever done that it wasn't like, that was beautiful and perfect and right on. So she really does understand the material and creates for the children something that they really like and enjoy and engage with. So you can use this in your homeschooling. You can use this in your Sabbath schooling on Shabbat. And it's just a fabulous program. And you can download it at the ymtoi.org website. The new ones for that week, for each week, are posted on Sundays. Okay? So the one that posted on Sunday is for this week. So we're doing this week Tetzaveh. That was posted on Sunday. And so that's for this week all the way to Shabbat. All right? Okay. I think that's going to cover for that part. Okay, so this Friday, we get to come together and eat. Because that's what we do. A lot. All right, so Friday we're doing our once a month Erev Shabbat. We do that, now we're going to do that the first Friday of every month as best we can. I think it's a really fabulous thing that we started instituting here. And we have a theme for this one. We're going to have Mexican-style food. Okay, we do have a sign-up sheet for that. If you want more information about it, you can see May. May's up here in the front, and she's with Representative Joanna going to be putting that together. And of course, my wife will be available to help with that as well. And so we're expecting and hoping that most of you will come, as well as many of you on the live stream. We'll see you on Friday night for the Erev Shabbat. So that will start at 6. Okay, anytime we mention these things where we're eating, they're almost always going to start at 6. And if there's anything after that, that will happen at 8. So on Friday night, we're just going to have the Erev Shabbat. We'll eat at 6, and then we'll just spend time together and be enjoying the beginnings of the Sabbath. Okay? And then on March the 8th, okay, that's Sunday, we're going to be switching to daylight savings. Okay, so be ready to move your clocks ahead. That'll happen at 2 in the morning. Okay, Saturday night into Sunday. Okay, March 10th, that's Purim and Tuesday night Torah study. So that's coming up really quickly here next week. Okay, so we're going to have, again, a meal. Wow, we're going to be getting together and eating all the time. A lot of you thinking, I don't even do any of this stuff in my house. I was like, keep coming here, bring my food and eat over here. Now, you still have to bring the food. Okay. Okay, so we're going to have a Purim and Torah study. So we're going to eat at 6, we're going to read the book of Esther. And then for the live streamers, we're going to stream our normal Tuesday night Torah study, okay, at 8 o'clock. All right, so that's on March 10th. Now, March 14th and 15th, at this point, we're not sure we're going to Spokane and Tacoma because, after all, they're having all kinds of problems with the coronavirus. We don't know what's going to happen with travels. And because one of the staff members who's going with me already has certain cardiovascular compromise situations, he can't probably go. So we may have to cancel that. So I'm sorry to all of you out there in Washington State. We will postpone it if we need to. But as they're getting more and more outbreak cases there, and there have already been a half a dozen fatalities there. Now, all of them have been older people with already immune system compromised situations, okay? They almost all out of a nursing home and that kind of a thing. I'm not saying that means it's not tragic. I'm just saying it's not like it's affecting just everyday, average, normal, healthy people and causing deaths. But, you know, the airlines may be shutting down some of those travels too until they kind of quarantine some of these things out. So Washington State just so happens to be one of the places where they're having a lot of this right now, okay? So we're looking into the situation, and we may need to end up not going and postponing that to a little bit later date. If you're one of the people that's running those two spots, and I haven't spoken to you yet, so I apologize, I'll talk to you tomorrow about this. So I'm sorry if you're hearing it for the first time this way. This is an ongoing decision that we've been discussing because we want to make sure we make the right choices with this thing. And there's no emergency to go, so we could always just put it off a month or two and then just go later in the spring. All right. So as of right now, it's still on, but we haven't really done that. I think it's going to end up being off. All right, March 22nd is our next leadership meetings. March 25th is Rosh Chodesh for Aviv. Yeah. And as we all know, Aviv is the month that starts the counting of months for the Holy Day calendar. So we will do what? We're going to eat at 6, and then we'll have a Rosh Chodesh service at 8. Okay, so that'll be on March 25th. All right, and then Passover, of course, is in Aviv, and we're going to have that April 8th through 16th. I think we're very close to being at, or if we're not already at, 250 people coming, so we expect that to be quite a celebration. I'm working on the schedule now. I know a lot of you keep contacting, wanting to know when's the schedule coming out. I actually started working on it today. So we should have that hopefully finished before the end of the week. It really shouldn't take me that long to put it together. So we will have the calendar up. We also will be relaunching the new website. So the new website will get launched sometime this week. It's almost finished. I have a semi-final draft that I'm looking at right now, double-checking everything, making sure all the links work correctly, and then making whatever last-minute adjustments. And so we should also this week have a new website up. But you can still go to the MTOI.org website and register for Passover. The forms are all there. You can either register online or you can download it and fill it out and mail it in, okay? We do want to encourage all of you that if you've registered and had not heard back from us either by email or by phone to confirm things, please call us to make sure we confirm all your details and make sure that we have your housing and everything else set up correctly. Okay, I think that's going to cover it for the announcements. And so we're going to now go ahead and get into the readings. So tonight we are doing Torah portion Tetzaveh. What does that mean? And you shall command, okay? Tetzaveh, this is Exodus 27:20 through 30:10, okay? 27:20 to 30:10. And we have 7 readings, so if you would like to read, there are 6 chairs up here. I assume Rabbi Tom's up here because he wants to read, so we have you listed in the 7. So if we can go ahead and fill up those chairs with 6 readers, that would be great. Okay, so the way this is going to work for those of you that are here and those of you that are online, I'm going to call up the readers one at a time. Each reader, when they come up, I'm going to recite a blessing over each reader. That's a traditional thing to ask a blessing on those that are standing up before their brothers to read the word. And we will do that, and then I will tell you what verses you are reading from and to, okay? And then you will go ahead and read, and then we'll go on to the next reader. When we finish, we'll have a discussion of what we read after we read all of the stuff. So again, a reminder, if you are wanting to participate in the discussion, I would have a paper and pen or paper and pencil, whatever. Use your phone, type it somewhere on your computer. Just mark down somewhere so you know what verses you want to discuss. I've got my sheet. I will be marking down for myself things that I Want to make sure I get covered in case somebody doesn't ask about it, and so we'll have that. Yes. Okay. All right, so we'll have the discussion of the portion. Okay, so 7 readings, each one will be about 15 or so verses, give or take, and we're going to begin with Rabbi Tom. Okay. And you have a book to read from? Okay. And this I can move. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Rabbi Tom, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Rabbi Tom, start us off in 27:20 and take us to 28:12.
And you are to command the children of Israel to bring you clear oil of pressed olives for the light, to cause the lamp to burn continually. In the tent of appointment, outside the veil which is before the witness, Aharon and his sons are to tend it from evening until morning before Yahweh, a law forever to their generations from the children of Israel. And you bring near Aharon your brother and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, for serving as priests to me, Aharon, Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar, the sons of Aharon. And you shall make set-apart garments for Aharon your brother, for esteem and for comeliness. And you shall speak to all the wise of heart, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, and they shall make the garments of Aharon, to set him apart for him to serve as priest to me. And these are the garments which they make: a breastplate, a shoulder garment, a robe, an embroidered long shirt, a turban, and a girdle. And they shall make set-apart garments for Aharon your brother, and to his sons, for him to serve as priest to me. And they shall take the gold, and the blue, and the purple, and the scarlet material, and the fine linen, and they shall make the shoulder garment of gold, of blue, of purple, of scarlet material, and of fine woven linen, the work of a skilled workman. It is to have 2 shoulder pieces joined at its 2 edges, and so it is joined together. And the embroidered band of the shoulder garment, which is on it, is of the same workmanship, made of gold, of blue and purple and scarlet material, and fine woven linen. And you shall take the 2 shoham stones and engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel, 6 of their names on one stone, and the remaining 6 names on the other stone, according to their birth. With the work of an engraver in stone, like the engravings of a signet, engrave the 2 stones with the names of the sons of Israel, set them in settings of gold. And you shall put the 2 stones on the shoulder pieces of the shoulder garment as stones of remembrance for the sons of Israel. And Aharon shall bear their names before Yahweh on his 2 shoulders for a remembrance.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Rabbi Tom. All right, Shannon. This over here. Yeah. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Shannon, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of her hands. Amen. Okay, Shannon's going to take us now from verse 13 to 29.
And you shall make settings of gold and 2 chains of clean gold like braided cords, and fasten the braided chains to the settings. And ye shall make a breastplate of right ruling, a work of a skilled workman, like the work of the shoulder garment. Make it of gold, of blue and purple, and scarlet material, and fine woven linen. It is square, doubled, a span its length, and a span its width. And you shall put settings of stones in it, 4 rows of stones. The first row is a ruby, a topaz, and an emerald. And the second row is a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. And the third row is a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row is a beryl, and a shoham, and a jasper. They are set in gold settings. And the stones are according to the names of the sons of Israel, 12 according to their names, like the engravings of a signet, each one with its own name for the 12 tribes. And ye shall make braided chains of corded work for the plate at the end of clean gold. And ye shall make 2 rings of gold for the breastplate, and shall put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. And ye shall put the 2 cords of gold in the 2 rings which are on the ends of the breastplate. And the other 2 ends of the 2 cords you fasten to the 2 settings, and put them on the shoulder pieces of the shoulder garment in the front. And ye shall make 2 rings of gold, and shall put them on the 2 ends of the breastplate, on the edge of it, which is on the inner side of the shoulder garment. And ye shall make 2 rings of gold, and put them on the 2 shoulder pieces underneath the shoulder garment, on the front of it, close to the seam above the embroidered band of the shoulder garment. And they bind the breastplate by means of its rings to the rings of the shoulder garment, using a blue cord that it is above the embroidered band of the shoulder garment, so that the breastplate does not come loose from the shoulder garment. And Aharon shall bear the names of the sons of Israel on the breastplate of the right rulings over his heart, and when he goes into the set-apart place for remembrance before Yahweh continually.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Shannon. Okay, next up. You look very familiar. Rebbetzin Julie, he who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Rebbetzin Julie, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. Okay, take us now from verse 30 to the end of the chapter.
And into the breastplate of right ruling you shall put the Urim and the Thummim, and they shall be on the heart of Aharon when he goes in before Yahweh. And Aharon shall bear the right ruling of the children of Israel on his heart before Yahweh continually. And you shall make the robe of the shoulder garment all of blue, and the opening for his head shall be in the middle of it, a woven binding all around its opening, like the opening in a scaled armor, so that it does not tear. And on its hem you shall make pomegranates of blue and purple and scarlet material all around its hem, and bells of gold between them all around. A golden bell and a pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate on the hem of the robe all around. And it shall be upon Aharon to attend in, and its sound shall be heard when he goes into the set-apart place before Yahweh, and when he comes out, so that he does not die. And you shall make a plate of clean gold, and engrave on it, like the engraving of a signet, set-apartness to Yahweh. And you shall put it on a blue cord, and it shall be on the turban. It is to be on the front of the turban. And it shall be on the forehead of Aharon, and Aharon shall bear the guilt of the set-apart gifts, which the children of Israel set apart in all their set-apart gifts. And it shall always be on his forehead for acceptance for them before Yahweh. And you shall weave the long shirt of fine linen, and you shall make the turban of fine linen, and you shall make the girdle of woven work, and make long shirts for Aharon's sons, and you shall make girdles for them. And you shall make turbans for them, for esteem and comeliness. And you shall put them on Aharon your brother, and on his sons with him, and shall anoint them, and shall ordain them, and shall set them apart, and they shall serve as priests to me, and make linen trousers for them to cover their nakedness, reaching from the waist to the thighs. And they shall be on Aharon and on his sons when they come into the tent of appointment, or when they come near the slaughter place to attend in the set-apart place, so that they do not bear crookedness and die, a law forever to him and to his seed after him.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Reverend Julie. Okay, next up is May. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless May, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. Okay, May's going to take us now to chapter 29 and read verses 1 through 14.
And this is the task you shall do to them to set them apart to serve me as priests. Take 1 young bull and 2 rams, perfect ones, and unleavened bread and unleavened cakes mixed with oil, and unleavened wafers anointed with oil. Make these of wheat flour. And you shall put them in 1 basket and bring them in the basket, along with the bull and the 2 rams. Then you shall bring Aharon and his sons to the door of the tent of appointment and wash them with water. And you shall take the garments and shall put them on Aharon, the long shirt, and the robe of the shoulder garment, and the shoulder garment, and the breastplate, and shall gird him with the embroidered band of the shoulder garment, and shall put the turban on his head, and shall put the set-apart sign of dedication on the turban, and shall take the anointing oil and pour it on his head and anoint him. Then you shall bring his sons and put long shirts on them, and shall gird them with girdles, Aharon and his sons, and put the turbans on them, and the priesthood shall be theirs for an everlasting law. So you shall ordain Aharon and his sons. And you shall bring near the bull before the tent of appointment, and Aharon and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the bull. And you shall slay the bull before Yahweh by the door of the tent of appointment, and take some of the blood of the bull, and put it on the horns of the slaughter place with your finger, and pour all the blood beside the base of the slaughter place. And you shall take all the fat that covers the entrails, and the appendage on the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is on them, and burn them on the slaughter place. But the flesh of the bull, and its skin, and its dung, you shall burn with fire outside the camp. It is a sin offering.
Amen. Amen. Okay, Michelle. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Michelle, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. Okay, Michelle's going to take us now from verse 15 to 31.
And take 1 ram, and Aharon and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the ram, and you shall slay the ram, and you shall take its blood and sprinkle it all around on the slaughter place, and cut the ram into pieces, and wash its entrails and its legs, and place them upon its pieces and on its head. And you shall burn the entire ram on the slaughter place. It is an ascending offering to Yahweh. It is a sweet fragrance, an offering made by fire to Yahweh. And you shall take the 2nd ram, and Aharon and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the ram. And you shall slay the ram, and take some of its blood, and put it on the tip of the right ear of Aharon, and on the tip of the right ear of his sons, on the thumb of their right hand, and one on the big toe of their right foot, and sprinkle the blood all around on the slaughter place. And you shall take some of the blood that is on the slaughter place, and some of the anointing oil, and sprinkle it on Aharon and on his garments, on his sons, and on the garments of his sons with him. And he and his garments shall be set apart, and his sons and the garments of his sons with him. And you shall take the fat of the ram, and the fat tail, and the fat that covers the entrails, and the appendage on the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat on them, and the right thigh. It is for a ram of ordination. And 1 loaf of bread, and 1 cake made with oil, and 1 thin cake from the basket of the unleavened bread that is before Yahweh. And you shall put it and you shall put all these in the hands of Aharon and in the hands of his sons, and you shall wave them a wave offering before Yahweh. Then you shall take them from their hands and burn them on the slaughter place as an ascending offer, as a sweet fragrance before Yahweh. It is an offering made by fire to Yahweh. And you shall take the breasts of the ram of Aharon's ordination and wave it, a wave offering before Yahweh, and it shall be your portion. And from the ram of ordination you shall set apart the breasts of the wave offering, which is waved, and the thigh of the contribution which is raised, of that which is for Aharon, and of that which is for his sons. And it shall be from the children of Israel, from Aharon and his sons, by a law forever for its contribution. And it is a contribution from the children of Israel, from the slaughters of the peace offerings, their contribution to Yahweh. And the set apart garments of Aharon are for his sons after him, to be anointed in them and to be ordained in them. The priests for his sons in his place puts them on for 7 days when he enters the tent of appointment to attend in the set-apart place, and take the ram of ordination and cook its flesh in the set-apart place.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Michelle. Okay, Gabe. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Gabe, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to take us now from verse 32 to the end of the chapter. Oh, you need this.
Yes, I do. And Aaron and his sons shall eat the flesh of the ram and the bread that is in the basket by the door of the tent of appointment, and they shall eat those offerings with which the atonement was made to ordain them, to set them apart. But let a stranger not eat them, because they are set apart. And if any of the flesh of the ordination offerings or of the bread be left over until the morning, then you shall burn up what is left over. It is not eaten, because it is set apart. And so you shall do to Aaron and his sons according to all I have commanded you. 7 days you shall ordain them, and prepare a bull each day as a sin offering for atonement, and you shall cleanse the slaughter place when you make atonement for it, and you shall atone it to set it apart for 7 days. You shall make atonement for the slaughter place and set it apart, and the slaughter place shall be most set apart. Whatever touches the slaughter place is to be set apart. And this is what you prepare on the slaughter place: 2 lambs a year old daily continually. Prepare the one lamb in the morning, and the other lamb you prepare between the evenings. And on 1/10 of an if of a flour mixed with 1/4 of a hin of pressed oil, and 1/4 of a hin of wine as a drink offering, with the one lamb, and prepare the other lamb between the evenings, and with it prepare the grain offering and the drink offering as in the morning for a sweet fragrance, an offering made by fire to Yahweh, a continual ascending offering for your generations at the door of the tent of appointment before Yahweh, where I shall meet with you to speak with you. And there I shall meet with the children of Israel, and it shall be set apart by my esteem. And I shall set apart the tent of appointment and the slaughter place, and Aaron and his sons I set apart to serve as priests to me. And I shall dwell in the midst of the children of Israel, and shall be their Elohim. And they shall know what I am, Yahweh, their Elohim, who brought them up out of the land of Mitzrayim to dwell in their midst. I am Yahweh, their Elohim.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Gabe. Okay, next up is Steve. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Steve, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to be the final reader here. You've also got the shortest portion, but you are the completer of the Torah portion of the night. Chapter 30, verses 1 through 10.
All right. Excuse me. And you shall make a slaughtered place to burn incense on it. Make it of acacia wood, a cubit long and a cubit wide. It is a square, and 2 cubits high, its horns of the same. And you shall overlay its top and its sides all around, and its horns with clean gold. And you shall make it for a molding of gold around it. Excuse me. And make 2 rings for it under the molding on both sides. Make them on its own side. Make them on its 2 sides. And they shall be holders of the poles to lift it with. And you shall make the poles of the acacia wood and overlay them with gold. And you shall put it before the veil, and it is before the ark of the witness, before the lid of the atonement, that over the witness where I am to meet with you. And Aaron shall burn on a sweet incense morning by morning as he tends to the lamps, and shall burn incense on it. And when Aaron lights the lamp between the evenings, he shall burn incense on it, a continual incense before Yahweh throughout your generations. Do not offer a strange incense on it, or an ascending offering, or a grain offering. Do not pour a drink offering on it. And Aaron shall make an atonement upon its horns once a year with the blood of the sin offering of the atonement. Once a year he makes the atonement upon it throughout your generations. It is most set apart to Yahweh.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Steve. All right, I do want to thank all the readers. Excellent job today. Appreciate that very much. All right. Traditional blessing after the readings. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Yahweh noten haTorah. Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh your Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us a Torah of truth, has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, Yahweh, giver of the Torah. Amen. Amen. All right. So, this is the time when we discuss what was read today. So if you've got a comment or question, let's try to keep it to the issues that are here, that are at hand. There's a lot of interesting things going on, as always, in the Torah portion. Let's look for, if we can, ourselves in there somewhere. If there's anywhere you can see yourselves in this, things that you can glean out of it could help you with your walk. Probably be a little bit tough with this week's Torah portion, but that's okay. If you're on live stream, and Manny will be taking note of those things. All right? Now, for the live streamers, please respect the leadership in the room. This is the time where things tend to get out of hand, if they are going to. And so this is not a time to promote your agenda, your personal belief systems, your website, or any other thing. Okay, we're just having a discussion here of this week's Torah portion. Okay, so who would like to start us off? Steve. Shocking.
I thought there was a lot.
There is a lot. I've got a whole page of notes.
Yeah. I got 2 sides. Little half sheet, though. Okay, the first one, 27:10, it says command, and press and light were the 3 words that stuck out to me in that. And it's like, when you're oppressed, what kind of light do you emit? And then the next thing would be, does any of his commands cause you to,
Okay, you mean 27:20. You said 10, but you meant
Oh,
20.
20?
20. No, the verse that you first were talking about, you said you meant 20.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, just
Yeah, all right. And then does any of his commands cause you to be pressed and emit a light other than what is pure?
oh, that's good. I like that. Well said.
I can go on here. Let's see, 28:2. The garments needed to go into his temples with such a requirement. How is it we don't think details don't matter?
Amen.
And 29. Let's see. This is the task, is what stuck in my head. So this is what is needed to enter his presence. How is it we think we can enter his kingdom and don't do anything? So to me, works equals reward, and the reward is everlasting life. And the last thing I had was 39. It says, don't offer strange incense. To me, it's kind of funny. Just because you put his name on it doesn't keep it from stinking.
There you go. Amen. All right, he covered a lot of stuff there. Anybody else here? Oh, wait, bring it back to Michael. He's got his hand up. It's okay. And I'm going to hit on a few of the things that Steve said. We'll get into a little bit more detail on. Let's see what Michael's got first. Go ahead.
I was just wondering if there's any correlation between we're supposed to be priests, and the garments and the Ephesians, if there's some kind of connection between all of that.
And Ephesians as in the armor? Correct. Yeah, there is a connection with that. We'll get to that. Okay? All right, so just want to make sure I catch everybody's comments if I can. Manny's going to be scribbling them down as fast as he can or typing them in. Excellent. All right, so let's start here in chapter 27 a little bit, but I don't want to jump in too much until the people get to ask questions. So if Manny's got some, I'll let him ask some of those first. Then I'll try to fill in the gaps. Sure. Have you got some ready to go?
Yep.
We'll try to do this as chronologically as we can. I didn't say that, but I should have. Starting in chapter 27 if we can.
27, I don't have anything for 27 yet.
All right, well, let me cover that then.
Okay.
And that way it'll give you time to write down other things. Okay, so in 27:20, which is something that Steve was alluding to, okay, we are, first of all, you have a whole bunch of things happening in this, and it's just in this own verse. You have what's known as the Ner Tamid, okay, the light that's supposed to be burning continually, the eternal flame, so to speak. Okay, you have the Ner Tamid. And interesting enough, you have, and this is again part of the understanding here, is as always is vertical structure. There is a process to everything in that structure. And he says, you are to ask nicely if the children would just go ahead and bring some clear oil if it was convenient and they could remember to do it. Now, see, it's interesting that this is not just commands from Yah, but he's telling the people he's put in position to command people. Okay? He says, and you are to command the children of Israel to bring you clear oil of pressed olives for the light, and to cause the lamp to burn continually. And then he says that this is going to be the job of Aaron and his sons. And in the tent of meeting outside the veil, which is before the witness, Aaron and his sons are to tend to it from evening until morning before Yahweh, a law forever in the generations from the children of Israel. So, from a metaphorical point of view, and this is again what we're looking for us, recognize that there are, again, as always, we talk about this, appointed leaders, and with an anointed role to serve in a certain capacity. They do have the authority to command. Okay? But those commandments were based on Yahweh said to do it. Yahweh said, you command them to do this. Not they just decided to command people for no reason. Then they actually have clarity here as to why this is important, because they have a responsibility to tend to the light. And we just spent 55 parts talking about light and darkness. Okay? And they have responsibility to tend to the light. So what does that mean? Tend to it. They're to be aware of its level of glow, aware of its oil levels. Does it have enough? Is it being watched over? Okay, so if you go to all of the metaphors we talked about with darkness and light, their job is to watch over the light. And this is not just any light. This is a light that's supposed to be there as a law forever to the generations from the children of Israel. This is for the blessing, for the purpose of the children of Israel. So they're commanding on one hand, but they're there to serve. And so they're saying, look, you the children of Israel, you have a role. You bring the pressed oil, which means you actually have to go get olives and press it into oil. Oh my gosh, it's works. Don't tell me they have to do works. But they were instructed to do something, okay? And so they have the works there. And so this is important that we have that the Kohanim, the priesthood, the high priesthood specifically, their job was to care for and tend to the light, okay? So you can look at it as a sort of mundane caretaker job to make sure a literal oil light doesn't go out. Or you could take it into a much more full metaphoric meaning to understand, as we talked about in darkness and light, all the depth that goes with that, okay, that means. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, these teachings are online free. You can go listen to them. I believe we're up to posting part 11, or where are we up to in the darkness and light? 11, okay? And actually, how many parts did we end up with? I said 55, but that was a different teaching. How far did we go in darkness and light? 15. It was the covenant teaching that went 55 parts. There you go. I got too many teachings. Okay, so keeping track. Okay, but there are 15 parts. Part 11 just posted, okay? So you can watch those. If you want to watch the other 4 that you haven't gotten to see yet, just go back and watch the live streams and you can find where we did the teachings. Okay. So that's important that we get to see this, all right? Now, we are, in a sense, let me just see if I wrote myself a little note to go to a verse here. Let me just see how that plays into this. As I stall to give more time to Manny to write down stuff. Okay, we'll have Rabbi Tom go here in a second. Okay, so where was this light to shine? Okay, it was supposed to be in the tent of meeting, outside the veil, which is before the witness. Okay, so this is to shine light on anything that would enter in to the Holy of Holies. So just take that and think about that for a little bit and how that metaphor plays into your life. That the light is going to expose things before they can go in. Things need to be exposed before they can enter into the Holy of Holies. Yeshua tells us, and the Word tells us, that all will be revealed. Well, it needs to before it can enter into the Holy of Holies. There's very strict protocols to enter into that space, including particular garments. And there was a reason why, as we read in one of the verses, that there were supposed to be bells on the garment, because if they heard the bells cease to jingle, there was a concern that the priest may be dead. And that could be a problem because, well, it could be not being dead would be a problem, but I'm saying it could be a problem that the priest could go in there, and if he was not doing things the way he was supposed to at the right time of year, et cetera, he could be dead. Okay? And so they would listen. Now, they had to listen because they couldn't go in. And they would tie a rope to them so that they could pull them out, because they still couldn't go in. And that's how serious this was. Can you imagine having that job and you have to go in there not knowing you're going to come out? It's a big deal. Okay, Rabbi Tom.
Okay, thank you. Several things struck me here. One in 28:1, we have Aharon, Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. And Nadab and Abihu were number 3 and 4 among the top leaders in Israel. And I think it'd be good to consider what happened to them.
Yes, and I have that in my notes, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll leave that then.
No, we could talk about it now. In Leviticus, we see this in chapter 9 into chapter 10, which goes along with, in chapter 30 here, which Steve mentioned, the strange fire. You need to connect those things up, because people want to go to the idea that it was all about being drunk. And they may have been, but that wasn't the problem. Okay, the problem we see in chapter 30 and verse 9 here in Exodus, He says, do not bring strange fire. He says in verse 9, do not offer strange incense on it, or a burnt offering or a grain offering, and do not pour a drink offering. In other words, now, so what is strange fire? That which was not authorized. Only do what I authorized you to do with these things. And so then we get to Leviticus chapter 9, and at the end of chapter 9, Moses and Aaron get a spectacular response from Yahweh where he consumes their offering. In the beginning of chapter 10, Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, each take their fire holder, put fire in it, put incense on it, and brought the strange fire, the unauthorized fire, and brought it before Yahweh, and then they were consumed. Now, they may have been drunk. It doesn't say. There's verse 9 of chapter 10 of Leviticus. It says, do not drink wine or strong drink, you nor your son. So people think that maybe that instruction came because they were drunk. If anything, they were drunk emotionally. They had just witnessed the ooh, ah, and the freak out of the whole crowd when they saw, the end of chapter 9. Listen, it says, Moses and Aaron went into the tent, verse 23, and came out and blessed the people, and the esteem of Yahweh appeared to the people, and fire came out from Yahweh and consumed the burnt offering and the fat on the altar, and all the people saw it and cried aloud and fell on their faces. And Nadab and Abihu go, we're priests, this is great, look what this cool stuff, let's go do the same thing. But they weren't authorized to do that. And this is a really important thing for us. You don't get to decide what you're authorized to do. You also don't get to decide how to do what he's authorized to be done. You can't do it your way, you have to do it his way. Okay? If you're not really clear on that, this whole Torah portion, I wrote down in one place in chapter 28, just because I thought a couple of verses there were good examples of what happens in almost the entire portion about details. In chapter 28, if you look in verse 27, okay? I know it could have started in 26 or anywhere. He goes, and you're going to take and make 2 rings of gold and put them on the 2 cords of the breastplate, on the edge of it, which is on the inner side of the shoulder. Are you kidding me? That's how detailed he was, that he wanted to tell you exactly how to make the garment. He didn't just say, hey, make a garment out of linen. He said, I'm going to tell you how to attach everything, where it goes, what it looks like, on the inner side of it, whether it's on the outside of it, if it's on the edge of it. So don't tell me details don't matter to Yahweh. If you start reading anything about building this Mishkan, the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, and everything else that was going on out there, he told them with very, very intricate detail what he wanted. All the offerings are the same way. He tells you exactly what to do. When he gets into and the fat of the entrails and all that, you can say, ugh. But he's telling you exactly of every part of that animal. This goes on the altar. This goes on outside the tent, and you do this outside the camp. This goes over here. This goes to you. This one Aaron and his sons get to eat. This one, he gives you very, very specific and very detailed understanding of what he wants. And when he doesn't, he expects you to go to those he put in charge to make those decisions. That's what Deuteronomy 17 comes into play. But when he talks about here, you see very clearly, he's saying, look, I am authorizing very specific people. They're being anointed, they're being set apart. And the word set apart, or kadosh, in some Bibles it would just be put into English as holy. Holy is one of those, I call it Christianese words that no longer mean what they originally meant. Because people don't know what it means anymore when you say the word holy. What does that mean? So we're going to use the word kadosh, or set apart, which means it was put aside or separated for the single purpose of serving Yahweh in some capacity, some specific capacity. He expects, like he said, that the Kohanim, the high priests, were to watch over the Ner Tamid. That's a specific capacity that they were to be set apart to do. And just like you might think, oh, well, they're in charge and whatever. No, but they were, higher standard was for them to make sure they did what they were supposed to do. Look what happened to Nadab and Abihu. Oh yeah, the fire came from Yahweh, but instead of consuming the offering, it consumed them. And then after that, he tells Aaron, and don't you cry over it. Don't you cry that your 2 oldest boys just got killed. They were warned. They did what they shouldn't do. Don't mourn over that. Wow, that seems so harsh. Yahweh's not playing games with all of this. He wants you to have what he wants you to have, and that's blessings and abundance. But he also wants you to know that to get it, you have to show him obedient trust. And if you cannot be trustworthy in the simplistic details of the simplistic things, the details of those easy things to do or easy things not to do, how can he trust you with anything big? What do I mean by big? I don't know, eternal life. He's going to give you forever and not be able to trust you? You wouldn't do something that dumb. Why would you give somebody eternal life you couldn't trust? So he tests us. And he tests us by expecting us to see how we behave and react to his do's and don'ts. Are we going to do what he says to do? Are we going to avoid and not do what he says? Don't do it. Because we are to be a set-apart nation, which means as a whole nation, we are to be serving his purpose in some capacity. What capacity? The one he lays out in his book. He expects us to do things on an individual basis and also on a national basis. Specific things, specific ways, and he expects us to do them as part of the covenant thing that he does. Now, unfortunately, most of mainstream Christianity, if not all of it, has told everybody that it talks to that the things necessary to do the doing has been done away with. This is a structural malfunction, okay? The structure is malfunctioning because the structure was to protect those things so that people would always know what to do and what not to do. All right? So we have that going on here quite a bit. And so when we look at the garments, we're going to also be able to take, and I don't have the time probably today to do it, but if you go and listen to the teaching, Armor of Elohim, I want you to understand when you read about the Armor of Elohim, often it's depicted as a Roman soldier. But why don't you go here and picture it as the garments of the high priest? And you can certainly get either metaphor out of it and get a lot out of it. But here is the armor, because we're told very clearly in chapter 28, we're talking about a breastplate of right ruling. Okay, so what's the breastplate? And by the way, right ruling means that, of course, we're talking about the priest having a certain heart for leadership. And so covering over the heart would be the breastplate of right ruling, to remind you to only rule in a right way, and the right way is decided by who? By the Creator, through the Torah. All right? So this is really important that we see this laid out. In chapter 28, you could read this and go, it's all about clothing. But you know what? And I don't know that I can push this the right way because I can't defend it beyond saying the priests had to wear very specific clothing to do their job, to come into a place of interacting directly with the Almighty. It doesn't say that we on our everyday basis have to do that. But you know what? When we come and meet with him on his special days, wouldn't it make sense to have special clothing? Clothing that is set apart that you wear only when you come before him? Clothing that's designed to be respectful of that. Now, here it's linen garments that are very specifically made for them. It doesn't say you need to wear like a dress as a lady or a suit if you're a guy with a tie and the whole 9 yards. I'm just saying, prayerfully consider it for yourself, what that looks like. Because they didn't have any of that back then. They had robes. Different layers and different cloths, and they would bind themselves up certain ways. But basically, they didn't have what we have today. They didn't have pants. They didn't have suits. They didn't have dresses like we have today. But taking the mindset of knowing that you are wearing garments to come before him. And not the same garment you wear when you're just hanging out on a Sunday afternoon doing whatever. Because I think we get way too casual. Okay? Okay, so, but I'm not going to create some sort of ruling that says you have to wear this. I think you should consider what you need to do. Okay? And that would make, just understand that that's part of the discussion here. Okay. I think I kind of stalled long enough. Manny, what do you got? Wait, Rabbi Tom had more? Go ahead.
If I may, just one more.
Okay.
In 28:6, it says, "You shall make the shoulder garment of gold of blue and purple and scarlet material. Of course, gold, if I'm correct, symbolizes divinity, or it can. But I did some reading about the blue and the purple and the scarlet, and the idea I got from what I read was that blue can represent the heavens, and scarlet can represent blood or mankind, and the purple is the meeting of the two, the heavens coming down, or man and heaven meeting. And that's what the colors kind of, I think, are very significant. And of course, today, our priests, or our leaders actually, don't wear these special garments, but we all wear tzitzit, and that's our special garment today. The men are required to do anyhow. And so that's our special garment.
Amen. Appreciate that. Going along in the discussion that he's kind of brought to the section he's at in that part of chapter 28, there's in verse 3, he says, "And you speak to all the wise of heart whom I have filled with the wisdom," it says the spirit of wisdom. In other words, their intrinsic nature is in a mindset to know how to make garments. There's those who have a mindset, a gift or a talent to make music, or a mindset to make whatever it is, or to do some talent or some task. In this case, the task that he needs is people to make garments. He says, "So you speak to all the wise of heart, whom I filled with the spirit of wisdom, and they shall make the garments." And then it talks about at the end of verse 6, the one that Rabbi Tom was quoting, he says, "This is the work of skilled workmen." So the spirit of wisdom has to do with those who've been given a skill. Okay, a skill or a talent. Now, bear in mind that we're talking about is not that they learned how to do something, but they had a skill. They were talented at it. Right? Many of you know what that's like because you've tried things in life that you are able to do, but you don't have the talent for it. You know others who have talents for it. And the things that you do that you have talent for that others do, and they don't do it as well as you do because they are lacking a talent for it. So here he's saying, go find those who I've given the gift or the talent, the spirit of wisdom in this specific area, in the making of garments. By the way, let that also be a lesson to all of you thinking, well, I don't understand the Bible so good and I can't get up and teach and everything, so I'm just useless. These were very useful people who made clothes. You might have thought of yourself like if you make clothes, it's like, why is that important? Well, these are mentioned in here. There's people with wisdom, given a talent and gift of the Creator. There's those who also have the talent to make things out of gold and out of silver, and how to make things out of wood, and how to learn how, and the carpenters who know how to put these things together. Okay? And understanding the blueprint, they probably had engineering ideas and skills in there to understand how to put all these things together and how they would work and function. And so he uses all kinds of people doing all kinds of things. And then you get to the Brit Hadashah, he gets a bunch of fishermen and an accountant and, these guys, a carpenter, that Yeshua himself was a carpenter, and these guys who have very everyday jobs, everyday tasks, but they were called to do different things. Okay? So you don't know what he's going to call you to do and where that's going to come in handy and where that's going to be necessary. I mean, look, Noah had to make an ark that had to survive the worst storm this planet's ever seen. Him and his sons. What kind of skills do you think he needed to have? Okay? To cut everything, to make it the right size, to put it together with the pitch and everything, to get it all so that it would be sealed and not leak and everything else. House all those animals. This thing was incredibly big. All right? Anyway, so look at yourself and through the eyes of, if I have a gift and talent, something that I do very well, that I tend to do easier than most people without the struggle that others do, because that's where the talent is. There are things I can do that I can do okay, but I struggle to do because it's not my talent, but I can get it done. And then I watch someone who's talented do it like it was nothing. In half the time, no sweat, no struggle. Like entering in passwords on a computer. No, I'm kidding. But you understand what I'm saying. I mean, you could be doing something and struggling, then a person who's talented walks over, they just, boom, it's just like it was nothing. Okay, you watch people come over, maybe you need a plumber, maybe you need an electrician or some sort of contractor, and they walk over to something that you were struggling, and they just go boom, 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 and it's fixed in 2 minutes, and you're like, wow, because they have a gift and a talent for that. Okay? I just want you to be encouraged that it doesn't have to be a Torah teaching talent. He gives you talents to do all the things the body needs. Okay? And they're all important. And so please don't take yours, for granted and don't fall into that Korach thing, which we didn't get to him yet, but where he's going to be like, well, I don't like my job, I want somebody else's job. Well, no, he gave you your job. Do it with all your might and be excited about that. Your job still blesses people, whatever that job is. And it could be something, I say this over and over because I think it's important, it could be something as simple as listening. The body absolutely could use more really good listeners. Someone who could just sit and listen to you. Because we got most people, and I'm guilty of this a lot, are more always busy speaking and thinking about what they're going to say than listening to the person who's talking. Because we're not good listeners. We're not, and quite frankly, there's a reason for that. We are hard-hearted and really don't care what the other person has to say. And then there's those rare people who have the spirit of wisdom in the area of listening who actually can and do care about what you have to say and make you feel like they care about what you have to say. What a great talent. What a great gift. Okay? So I just wanted to bring that out there because I think this is important as we're going through this. The mentioning of the breastplate of right ruling, recognize that they do have authority, these priests, to make rulings. Okay, they're going to have authority. This is a vertical structure, and so they're going to have authority to make rulings. In chapter 28 and verse 40, there's a mention of turbans. This is not a kippah. This is not a reference to where the kippah comes from. This thing does not look like the small thing that we see as a kippah today. It was a full turban-like thing. It was a circular wrapped turban. Okay, it was special and specific, and it was only worn when they were in their role as high priest doing their work. It wasn't something that they would wear all the time. Okay? So don't go and say, well, there's a reference to the kippah right there. Well, no, it's not actually. Okay? Just so you know. Okay? The kippah is a Talmudic thing that came from the Talmud, and it was something that was designed to remind people that there's something above you. Put something on your head so you don't have your head so lofty in the clouds. To remind you there's something above you. So is it wrong to wear? No. Do you have to wear it? No. Okay? I enjoyed when I would run into some of my Orthodox friends in New York, and they would see me with my tzitzit and no kippah on my head, and they would say, what's going on? And I would say, well, Talmud. I point to my tzitzit, Torah. They go, okay. No arguments. Now, they didn't necessarily agree with my choice, but they understood this is why I said this is Talmud, which means that it's not necessary. It's tradition. And this is Torah. It's necessary. Okay? And there are times when I'll wear it, and I've done that in the past. When I lived in Knoxville, we had a congregation there. You got to understand, there's not a whole lot of Jews in Knoxville. Certainly wasn't 20 years ago when I lived there. And so if you're walking around with tzitzit and a kippah on, they think you're a rabbi. And I was. And this way people would come up to me and they'd say, are you a rabbi? I said, yes. It started conversations. Okay, because they were not used to seeing somebody dressed like that. So there was a time when I wore it all the time. Okay? Anyway, I stalled long enough. Manny, what do you got? I got a whole lot more.
Okay.
You can go.
I'm going to go through them. You let me know what you've already answered, just in case.
Okay.
Let's see. Trying to keep it kosher over here. All right. We had a comment from MTOI Urbana. It is interesting that this is the only Parsha since Moshe's birth to his death that he is not mentioned once. Is it because Yah is using this to focus on Aaron and his sons?
Well, I mean, his name isn't mentioned, but he's the one doing all of the things. Okay, like in chapter 28, verse 1, it says, and you bring near Aaron your brother and his sons. Who's he talking to, Aaron, your brother? So Moses is mentioned, just not mentioned by name. He says, bring near Aaron your brother. Who's he talking to here? Okay, Moses is doing all of these things. Moses is commanding the people to bring the oil. Okay? He's just not mentioned by name specifically. All right, next question.
Okay, Olivier and Janet Hoffman. Exodus 28. Rabbi, any connection regarding the garments with Yeshua's parable of the wedding feast in Matthew 22?
Okay, so I don't see a specific parallel between the specific details of this garment. What I do see is the wedding feast garment issues, the very end where the bride has made herself ready and she's wearing a certain garment, and that there's a garment required for certain things. And you, the person who's supposed to be wearing that garment based on where you're going to be. In other words, the wedding feast Yeshua talks about, the person had to be wearing certain garments and was not. The bride in Revelation was to wear a certain garment a certain way. The priest here to go into the tent of meeting had to be wearing a certain garment. So it's about the specific garment for what you're supposed to be doing. And that you need to know and make sure you're wearing that garment. Okay? Next question.
Okay, Selena, 28:12. What does for a remembrance mean? 28:38. What does bear the guilt mean?
Okay, which verse was the one with bear the guilt?
She's got like 3 questions in here for me. She snuck them in. 28:12. What does remembrance mean?
Right.
28:38. What does
38, okay.
What does bear the guilt mean, and what does for acceptance mean?
Okay, so 28:12. All right, so it says here, and you shall put the 2 stones on the shoulder piece of the shoulder garments as stones of remembrance for the sons of Israel, and Aaron shall bear the names before Yahweh on his 2 shoulders for remembrance. So change the word to reminder or awareness. Aaron was to always be aware of why he was doing what he was doing. He was representing all of them. Okay? Why do you wear tzitzit? To remind you to keep commandments. So why did he have stones on his shoulders with the names of the 12 tribes? To remind him that his role is to be in service to his Creator on behalf of all of them. Okay? So it's not so much a remembrance, but because that word doesn't seem to work maybe in the way we speak today, but think of it as to bring awareness to, a reminder, to have you be in the frontlets of your eyes. Don't forget this is what you're doing while you're here. You are here to serve Elohim on behalf of these people. You are the representative of all of them. Okay? So that's important. Now, in verse 38, and it shall be on the forehead of Aaron, and Aaron shall bear the guilt of the set-apart gifts which the children of Israel shall set apart in all their set-apart gifts, and it shall always be on his forehead for acceptance for them before Yahweh. Same point. Okay, in other words, everything he was doing it as the representatives of them. What they did and all the things that they were supposed to do, he represented that cumulative nation. And so he bore their gifts, he also bore their guilt. Which is why on atonement, there's a sprinkling on him and a sprinkling on the people. Okay?
Okay. And
look, that's a role nobody should have wanted to have. Okay? Because you talk about a double judgment or whatever it is, he represented all of them. Okay? Go ahead, next question.
Selena also had another one. 29:6. What does sign of dedication mean?
29:6.
Yes, sir.
You know what? It's okay. So I don't think I have that anywhere in my notes. I don't really, know what that set apart sign would be. Do you have an answer for that? The set apart to Yahweh in verse 36? Okay, so that's what it's probably talking about there. Sorry, my wife has just spent a month working on this Torah portion. So she should be up here answering the questions because she probably could answer them better than I could. Okay? All right, so if you go to chapter 28 and verse 36, it says, you shall make a plate of clean gold and engrave on it like the engraving of a signet set apart to Yahweh. You're going to put it on a blue cord and you're going to set it on the turban. Okay, so that's what it's talking about there. Thank you. See, what a great team. Look, not everybody, that's the word I want to look for. Not every part of what happens from Genesis to Revelation is the type of thing that grabs each person. Some things grab you more than others. Some people, it could care less about the building of the tabernacle. Other people, it's like, wow, every detail just grabs them. Okay? My wife's one who's, wow, every piece grabs. So it's great that I have her with you because, quite frankly, it's not much we can do with it today, so it doesn't grab me because I'm much more about what can I do today. That doesn't make me right or her right. It's great that as a team we fill the gaps, okay? Because she's fascinated by all the stuff that I'm like, I'd be fascinated if we were still doing it, but we're not, so I'm focused on the things we still can do. But I'm glad somebody's fascinated. Rico does this as well. A lot of people out there that focus on the tabernacle. Great stuff. Okay, so I'm glad, and she does a great job with that. And let me tell you something, boy, she will look everywhere and research everything and come to me and anybody she can go to get every detail as right as she can get it. Okay, she wants to understand it and get it right. Also, if you go and look at the Torah portions with the tabernacle, our drawings, we believe, are as close to accurate as can be because there's quite a bunch of drawings out there of all the different parts of the tabernacle and all of the furnishings, etc. And there's so many varieties of how they did it, and not very many of them actually match the description when you read the description and you look at the pictures. Okay, and that's part of the problem. All right. What else you got?
Okay, I think people heard you say chronological order and decided to wait till the last minute to ask about 27 and 28.
That's
now
okay.
That I'm on 29. All right, back to 27. Sarah Beth, 27, 20, and 38. If the lamps were to burn all the time, how is Aaron lighting the lamps between the evenings? Did it mean they were just to burn all night?
Where do you say it again?
27, 20, and 38, 30, verse 8.
Okay, so you have 20, and then which one, verse 8?
30, verse 8.
30, verse 8. Okay, you have to understand, in the tabernacle, okay, there were no lights and light switches and everything else. There were lots of lamps, okay? Only one was the Ner Tamid, okay? And so there were other lamps to be lit. But there was the one that was supposed to be burning all the time. So hopefully that answered that question.
Yeah.
Okay?
All righty. Evangeline 28, 33 and 34.
Because if you think about the covering over this tabernacle, it would be really dark. I mean, it's got 3 layers of skins and materials over it, okay? And the way it's built around it and all of the walls and the curtains and everything, it was going to be really pretty dark in there, okay? And so there were going to be lamps. Okay, next question, sorry.
Okay, Evangeline 28, 33 and 34 mention pomegranates and bell on the hem of the robe.
Mm-hmm.
What does that symbolize?
Okay, so the pomegranates represent royalty. Wait, I'm waiting for my wife to feed me my lines. No, okay. Okay, but that's because of the 7 species teaching. There you go. All right, the bells we already explained, okay? But pomegranates did represent royalty, okay, all right? And the bells were functional. They were to make the noise that you needed to hear, okay? Next question.
Okay. Anonymous on chapter 29, for multiple verses. Any clarification on the definitions of or intentions behind an ascending offering versus sin offering versus a wave offering would much be appreciated.
Okay, wait till we get to the first 4 chapters of Leviticus. We'll cover all that stuff. First 4 or 5 chapters in Leviticus.
Okay,
All those offerings are very specifically dealt with. Okay?
perfect. All right, got a question from
Okay,
Kirsten.
Rabbi Tom, you're doing that Torah portion. All right. It's not my favorite one. No, we'll cover that all. But all the different types of offerings are covered right there in the beginning of Leviticus.
Okay. Kirsten has a question. Exodus 29:20. Why are they having to put blood on their ears? What does that symbolize?
I was wondering when we get to that question. Okay, I have an actual answer for this question today. I mentioned it the other week as something that we just, and it's a pure guess, just so we understand this. All right, so look at 29:19. It says, and you shall take the second ram, and Aaron and his sons, and lay their hands on the head of the ram, and you shall slaughter the ram, and take some of its blood, and put it on the tip of the right ear of Aaron, and on the tip of the right ear of his sons, on the thumb of the right hand, and on the big toe of the right foot, and sprinkle the blood all around the altar. Okay, so what's up with all this? All right, so the ear, what's the job these guys have? They are representing the people before their creator, and they're representing the creator back to the people. And so there are going to be 3 primary things. This is like when we talk about the frontlets of your eyes and as binding on your hands and what you do. Okay, we talk about feet swift to do different things, or different parts of the body for different representations about our life and the things that we do. Well, the ear is for what? Listening, for hearing, Shema. That's the first and primary thing that they have to be doing, is the hearing. And so what's with the thumb? What's the hands for? The work of the hands, the doing. What about the toe? What do the feet represent? Our walk. I got that one today. Thank you. Yeah? Okay, got that about an hour before we started. Okay? So, how much more important would it be then to the high priesthood to have the reminder, hey, you need to be listening, you need to be doing, and you need to be walking this thing out right. Amen? Amen. Okay. All right. Next question.
Oh, so good. Norma Silva, does the sprinkling of the blood in 29:21 have a connection with the shed blood of Yeshua?
Look, anytime we try to extrapolate out Yeshua's blood into different places where blood is being done, it's always challenging, and it's, again, pure guesses, and who knows what we're making connections there, okay? So I wouldn't go there and try to make those connections, okay? The shed blood of Yeshua is best matched up with the blood of the lamb put on the doorposts, okay? It's there for the passing over of death. So to bring it into other places, I wouldn't probably do it most of the time, okay? The primary function and purpose is as we see it, as describing him as the lamb, because his blood provides a passing over of death. So let's just leave it at that, okay? And then Norma, I want to thank you for now creating for us the problem of us having to have a separate bus fund. I mentioned the other day about needing some sort of a vehicle so I could travel across the country, and also a broadcast van. Well, Norma decided that she wanted to start funding that. Thank you, Norma. And so apparently now we need an account for that. She listens and pays attention. I have to be careful what I say. Next thing we know, we have a fund for it. So I understand truly that it's just another attempt to get me to do Millennium and Kingdom Part 4. I get that, but... and we will eventually. Okay.
Okay, Olivier and Janet Hoffman. Rabbi, is there any connection between Exodus chapter 29, verse 25, and 2 Corinthians 2, 14 and 15?
29:25. And what?
2 Corinthians 2, 14 and 15.
I'm going to say there's absolutely a connection and absolutely no connection. You're welcome. Next question. No. Okay, so I don't think there's any direct connection. I think there is a connection to when we do what Yah wants us to do, that this provides a sweet-smelling fragrance metaphorically. And we talked about that, I think, once, recently we talked about that. And so I think from that point of view, there's a direct connection. I think anywhere it talks about providing a sweet fragrance to Yah, it has to do with doing what's pleasing in His sight. As far as that specific verse linking directly to what's going on in Corinthians, probably not. Okay? In any kind of direct relational way. Okay?
Yes, sir. Okay, from Yah's daughter, what is the strange offering at 30, verse 9?
Okay, yeah, I think I explained that already.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, sir.
That's going to be covered again when we get to Leviticus 9 into 10. Okay, chapter 9 going into 10, we'll cover that again. But
Okay.
so remember this when we get there. Because here he refers to strange fire. It has nothing to do with being drunk. It has nothing to do with the same thing. But it's the idea of doing something that's unauthorized. Okay, we see the word strange. Put the word unauthorized, it makes more sense. Okay, they brought fire that was not fire that was authorized to bring, or incense that wasn't authorized. All right? And by the way, so when people take the Sabbath and move it to Sunday, that was never authorized. Okay? Nobody gave them permission to move a day. Okay, so you don't get to put it on whatever day you want. Somebody else got in big trouble for trying things like that. A guy named Jeroboam. All right? He did that with the feasts. You can't just make unauthorized decisions to move stuff around. Okay? All right, go ahead. What's next?
Okay, question from Johnny. When Elohim says the children of Israel, who is He referring to? Men, women, or only asking men to do these things?
Okay, so it's gonna depend on what it is. Okay, if He's asking them to actually do certain things, like to bring the pressed oil, He's asking the men to go ahead and bring these things. But again, if this is something that can be done by everyone may get involved. But remember, the instructions are always through the vertical structure. Yahweh spoke to Moses. Moses spoke to whoever was next to instruct to, either the people directly or through the priesthood or through his 70 elders, which we see that. And then to the men. Now, the men would then instruct the women and the children, which is why when they do a census, we see that in the book of Bimidbar, Numbers, they don't count the women. Because the women, not that they didn't count, they just didn't actually do a number count of them because they were included in the men as a part of the man. The children were included as a part of the whole thing as well. Okay? And so bear in mind that all instruction is to the men first. Whether it also then affects others, that's not always clear. It depends on the specific instruction and what's going on. For example, Deuteronomy 16, it says 3 times a year, all of your men will make a certain journey. And it never says the ladies can't do it. It just says the men have to do it. Okay? By the way, let that be, I'm going to meddle a little bit. I'm pointing all you guys that could, and ladies, this is to you too. You need to let your guys do this. If you can't all make it to services, but you could at least have the man go, let him go, make him go. He should go. Oh, but I want him at home to help me at home. You need him to be here. You need your man under a covering, accountable, and sitting in this room or wherever congregation is that you go to. Because we have a problem with that in the body. I'm not just saying here, I mean at all congregation there's a problem with that. Same thing with the feasts. Well, we can't all go. So what? Men, go. I mean, that one I can say with a lot of confidence. Deuteronomy 16:16 says, all you men, you need to go. But there's this and there's that, and we have goats and we have this or whatever. So fine, let the ladies stay home with the family and let them take care of all that. You need to go. I don't know how else to put that. How can you do what you need to do as high priest in your house if you don't show up? You got to show up. And stop making excuses to stay home. I don't understand. Again, are you not willing to inconvenience yourself to do what he tells you to do? There's a lot of that in Scripture. We see a real problem with people not being willing to inconvenience themselves on his behalf. He never said this would be convenient. Now, it will be very convenient when everybody's doing it, but we're in a world that doesn't do it. Generally, right? But I mean, men, you need to be on the holy days and on the Sabbath with other men who are being covered and are seeking out their Creator and get that accountability and that fellowship. Okay, we're not just having a little social group here so the ladies will be like, oh, you just want to go and have a little social thing. And by the way, men, if you are struggling to have everybody come, then you need to work as hard as you can to make it so everybody can come. Let's fix that problem too. Oh, but we only have one car, it doesn't fit everybody. Get a bigger car. I'm sorry, was that too simple? I mean, well, there's this and there's that. Well, we got a lot of little ones. We got a lot of people come here with a lot of little ones. We got babies that were born in the last few months and babies that are all the way up to 2, 3, 4 years old and all in between, all here every Sabbath, all making noise or not making noise and crying or not crying, whatever they're doing. Oh, but my child is handicapped. We got handicapped kids here every week. My child's, fill in the blank, whatever it is, we've got it. So take away all those excuses. That's all there is, a bunch of excuses. Okay? And so you can make if you don't want to be here, you can find a viable excuse that's at least viable to you. Plausible excuse that's viable, makes sense to you. Or you can make the effort to be here. Let me ask you a question. I'm asking all of you too. If Yeshua, well, let's make it easier than that. If Paul, John, James were going to actually be here, would you figure out how to get here? Okay, would you figure it out? If Yeshua, for sure, I know you'd say, of course I figure it out. Well, Yeshua is here every week. But I'm just going even back to if any of the apostles had been here, or any other big quote-unquote name out of Scripture, I know you'd kill yourself to get here. You'd leave, if you had to walk, and you'd leave the day before and get here. You'd camp out in my parking lot. But you'd get here. One day you got to talk to this gentleman over here and figure out how he got all the way from Hawaii here just to be here. If he can figure out how to get from Hawaii to here, you can figure out how to get here for services. Oh, but it's comfortable on my couch watching on the live stream. I almost want to cancel the live stream because of all that excuses. Live streams for people that can't get here. Did you hear what I just said? All you people that won't get here, you should just turn it off and be here. Back in the day, I don't know if they do this anymore, but I remember in New York, they had the blackouts on the football games. If the game wasn't sold out, the game was not on TV. Okay, that was the way it was growing up. Only if it was sold out did it go on TV, because they wanted you to go to the game. And I wish that we had a way to know if you're just staying at home that your live stream wouldn't work. So you'd have to be here. Now, if you were sick, or if there's there's a legitimate reason, sure. He says, don't forsake the assembling together. He said, this is a Mikra Kodesh, a commanded, set-apart assembly. I really feel bad that I've enabled some of you to stay home. I'm not even just talking about here. I mean, there are people that can go to other congregations that we have around the world that instead of going, they could just stay home and watch the live stream. Because after all, when they go to the group's still watching the live stream, but you're assembling together. I mean, you know what? I was told this, and all of you probably heard this, especially if you're old enough. I mean, the younger generation, I don't know what they're doing, but the older generations all know that job one on any job was what? Showing up. On time, too. Okay, the number one expectation of an employee is to show up. Well, we're slaves, not even employees. We're slaves to our Elohim. He expects you to show up. I have no idea what triggered all that, but you needed to hear it. Or I needed to say it, either way. Okay? I mean, I don't get the excuses. We have people that drive 3 hours on a weekly basis to be here. And we got people that live within 45 minutes who won't come. And not just here, whatever congregation. When I say that, it's because I talk to all the other leaders, and I know I'm not talking to you specifically. Yes, I am. But I'm not talking to you specifically. I know that whoever is out there that's here locally is going to come give me grief when they do show. Well, blah, 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 blah. Look, you do what you want. I am not judging you. It's my job, though, to tell you like it is. Okay? You have absolutely no reason to not be here unless you have a reason not to be here. A can't or shouldn't because, say, you're sick and you don't want to get somebody else sick. Or your car just broke and you can't do whatever it is. I mean, you have to have a real, legitimate reason. So it's not just I don't feel like it, or I'd rather stay home, or it's cold outside, or it's raining, or whatever. Okay? Those are all excuses. I mean, this isn't a club you joined. You just come what you want, and, or like the membership at the gym, and you just show up and work out whenever you want or not, whatever. This is a covenanted contract, and in it, he expects you to show up. I mean, forget about everything else you have to do. Actually, don't forget, but I mean, that's not even the point. You got to at least first show up. I mean, that's the first thing. You got to show up. Oh, I've had people in years past saying, oh, the husband showed up, and I was like, where's your wife? Oh, she's Shabbating at home. What? Yeah, because I thought maybe she wasn't feeling good. I said, is she okay? Oh, no, she's fine. I go, what do you mean she's fine? Oh, she's Shabbating at home. You can't Shabbat at home when you have a place to go. I think she's Shabbating at home. Now, these people don't come at this point. They're not part of the congregation, so I don't want you trying to figure out who they are. Okay? All right, but I'm just saying it's like, where is your heart for the two great commands? And by the way, you can't do the second one at home. You might think you could do the first one at home. You could love your Creator. That's fine. Although, how loving is it when He has what we call, like, like they have date nights with couples, like this is date night? Well, He has date day. Because the word from Mikra Kodesh, the set-apart day that you read about in Leviticus, listen to the appointed times teaching. It has in it the understanding of at a meeting, like as in a wedding, like as an appointed gathering between the bride and the groom. This is a special day to meet with your king. How are you loving Him when you don't even show up? How would you feel if He didn't show up? Oh, you cry out when you need Him and expect Him to show up. And you know what? I have a friend that did this to his kids once, and I think maybe the Creator, He might even do this to you. Who knows? Because I remember the kid coming over to the father and saying, Dad, and he's like, what? He goes, I need something, whatever it was. And he said, the kid walked away. 2 hours later, Dad. And then third time, a couple hours later, Dad. He's like, why? He says, well, I asked you for that thing, whatever it was. He said, yeah, and I'm going to respond just as quickly as you respond when I ask you for stuff. And then maybe you'll learn that when I ask you for something, you might want to respond quickly if you want me to respond quickly. Oh, but you want him to show up, but then you don't show up. And wait, I'm going to make it worse. And then when you show up, show up. Did you follow that? Don't just be here in your body. Be present. Be focused. Be ready to receive. Be in relationship. Don't just exist here. Show up. Ready to go. Ready for whatever he had in mind. Ready to receive whatever comes out of this microphone. Ready to receive whatever you were going to get from each other or give to each other. Don't just show up and then think, okay, I'm here, like you're punching in. Anybody been to those churches? I've been to those. Everybody there seemed like it was like a morgue. Everybody just showed up, okay, I'm here. Okay, great, we're done. Okay, I'm going home. Show up, be present, be excited, be enthusiastic. Filled with Elohim in you, enthusiasm. Means you're going to show up, show up. Okay, I'm done. Rabbi Tom.
Okay, if I can elaborate on that for just a minute, what you just said.
Yep.
Isn't it kind of funny, maybe not really funny, but just to use a term, it's kind of funny, how when we have an event where there's food involved, we get
more people show up.
More people? No, seriously, they do. Or if we would have a special musical group, we'd have
I know.
probably not an empty chair in the house.
I know.
And it's the same thing with Sukkot. A lot of people think if they can Shabbat at home, they can keep Sukkot in their backyard. And
listen, you need to make every effort to be where he says you need to be.
Right? They don't get the rain.
Now, I understand can't. I don't understand won't. Or prefer not. Or it's too much effort or whatever. Okay? There are situations that are can'ts. I don't have any thought negatively or to give you the crack on you if you have a can't situation. And there are legitimate can't situations. I can't get there. I can't do this at this time. I understand that. Let's be careful, though, that you're not putting the word can't in when it's a won't. Okay? Let's be careful with that because that's dangerous. Go ahead, Rabbi Tom.
Well, I mean, you really said it all. I mean, but
and I know I made a whole bunch of people mad, and thankfully I don't care.
Blessed are they who love thy Torah, for nothing shall
And
offend them.
that's not callous. I'm not trying to be callous. He gave me an appropriate heart mindset that if I cared, I wouldn't be able to say it. Okay? I care about you. I don't care whether or not I hurt your feelings trying to get you to do what you need to do to be in line with him. Does that make sense? So remember, I stepped on your toes. Be careful, I'll step on your thumb and your right ear as well. If you think it's bad enough, I'm stepping on your toes. All right? Some people thinking, honey, I'm not sure we want to move to Cleveland now. He scares me. Listen, I feel like he said to me, he said, don't worry about if they love you or hate you. Just get them into the kingdom safely, okay? I don't care if you can't stand me. I'm just trying to get you there safely. I want you to get there and him say, well done, good and trustworthy servant. Not to me, but to you. So that you've been doing what's well-pleasing in his sight. All right? And then when you whine and complain about me, I'm hoping he looks you in the eye and says, and that's because that's what you needed to hear. Okay? I'm not claiming that. I'm just saying I'm hoping that's what it will be. I try hard not to go over the top as much as I can. And I don't want anybody out there thinking I'm really angry about this stuff. I'm trying to put the right amount of emphasis just because that's the prophet role. I'm not claiming I'm a prophet, but at this point, that's the hat I'm wearing to cry aloud and spare not. Hey, This is a problem in the body. We're getting way too comfortable and complacent about most things. Okay? And we're getting too involved in too much strange fire. Okay? Unauthorized stuff. Okay? All right. Next. Okay, Steve, go ahead.
I was just going to say you could speak on those who chose not to correctly tithe, so that's keeping them home for the feast.
Well, I mean, look, there are things that people need to get right in their lives, and I'm here to help, and I do help you. You know what the problem is? Most of the people won't ask for the help. I don't mean help like a handout. I mean help in figuring out how to get your life and your finances and everything else straight so that you can afford to do all the things you need to do. Okay? It may not be convenient to have to get 2 jobs instead of 1. It may not be convenient for both spouses to have to work, at least for a period of time, until you get your life straightened out. It may not be convenient at 40 years old to go and learn a new skill, or to go get back to school, or to go get trained in something that pays better than what you're making now. That's not convenient. But you know what? Being where you are and never changing it is already not convenient. Okay? It's your life. You got to live it. I mean, I can help as much as I can help it. If you're not going to hear and do and walk, not going to get you there. Okay? Lots of people buy diet programs, exercise programs, join gyms, but they don't use them. Guess what happens? Nothing. I still haven't lost any weight the 2 times I've been to the gym. I've been there twice now. In 2 months. Any surprise, it's had no effect. Maybe it's the unlimited fries I get at Red Robin. I'm not sure. That shouldn't even exist. That's evil. And delicious. Oh, would you like some more? Yes, please stop bringing them. Okay.
Okay, I had 3 things real quick. One,
Look, you guys in trouble. It's almost 10 o'clock. I'm waking up now. You're all in trouble now.
and he's back. It's because your wife's here.
That's because she's here too. Go ahead.
I was going to say, one, we need to start a fund for you for a box of microphones that you start dropping from the podium.
Yeah, well, Marty might have a problem with that. Just make sure they land on feathers and cushions and don't break. There we go.
2, I was reminded of a quote from Les Brown that says, when you fight, in this case, excuses, when you have excuses, when you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. And then thirdly,
I like that. When you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. I always liked Les.
yeah, he's awesome.
Mamie Brown's little boy.
That's right.
Baby boy. I'm sorry, I said it wrong.
Baby Brown's baby boy. And the third thing was I just had a thought came to me when you were talking about being present, how when you're here, you need to be here, be present. The thought that came to mind, just a different angle on being absent from our body, but present with the Master. That's what we need to be when we're here.
Amen. And so for those of you that are watching that have never heard me explain that, okay, so absent the body means that I'm not in a flesh mind, but I'm being present in a vertical mind, okay? It doesn't mean literally like leaving your body and some other weird stuff like Christianity might teach. Being absent the body and present with the Master means that I'm not thinking in my fleshly head, but I'm thinking with the mind of Messiah. Okay, let this mind be in you. All right? But I've had people, look, and I'm not bragging, this is no ego. I know he's anointed me to do what I do, so I know it's impossible for you to sit and listen to me for the 1.5 to 3 hours that you listen to me and get nothing out of it. Yet there are people that will show up here and tell me that they haven't gotten anything out of it for months. And I'm thinking, where have you been? And then I realize they get up and walk out during the teachings and wander all over the place because they're not present. Okay, I didn't say you get everything out of it, but if you could get nothing out of it, you're not paying attention. I've been to some pretty lousy seminars and managed to always get something out of it. I've read some really lousy books, and I'm talking about personal development, whatever it is, and gotten something out of it. If you're present and anticipating and open, you can glean and get something. I would guess you get a whole lot more than that, but just at least something. So for someone to be here and say they got nothing, they weren't here. They may have sat in a chair, but they weren't here. Okay? That's sad. Especially because you could go to other places where you would get almost nothing. I've sat in those chairs where it was a struggle to find something. I know you're getting from me stuff that you could and should use today. Not like, oh, that's interesting. But that you can literally use, especially in the forgiveness teaching we've been going through lately, or the darkness of light teaching we went through, or the covenant teaching we went through, tonight's teaching. Don't tell me you can't use this stuff today. Unless you were just occupying a space, or you were busy half paying attention to online and going to get your coffee and your snacks and really not listening. There's a reason I don't put the verses up on the screen and read everything. Now, Marty will give a reference to the verse, but we don't actually put all the words and all that stuff. I want you to have a book. I want you to turn the pages. I want you to look things up. Because I go to speak sometimes in places, I go, do you use PowerPoint? No. Really? Yes, really. Why not? Because I want people to open their books up. I don't want them to just sit there and like little baby birds with their mouth open doing nothing. All right, what else you got?
Okay, I have just a couple more. I'm sure you can run through these real quick. Let's see.
You're overly optimistic.
Well, see, it goes long, but for me, it's quick.
Okay, go ahead.
All right.
Actually, it's after 10. I will be quick.
Nancy had a comment. It's interesting that Joseph's tribe's stone is a shoham, the same as the shoulder stones inscribed with the 12 tribes, the stones of remembrance.
Okay, I'm sorry. The question, is there a question or just a comment?
No, that was a comment.
Oh, no, it is interesting where you can see. It's interesting what stones are used. There's a lot of interesting in this Torah portion.
Yeah.
And I'm not against interesting. There's an amazing amount of interesting things in your Bible. I'm just called to work on the functional, okay? Minor remember in college you had elective classes and you had your core classes? Make interesting an elective, not a core thing, okay? But there's lots of really interesting things, especially in the tabernacle and the clothing and the materials and the colors and the stones. Lots of really, really interesting things. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Mercy had a question. Is there a wardrobe protocol today for us when approaching the throne privately, i.e. assuming we shouldn't approach him while we're on the bathroom to preserve our modesty, etc.?
Look, you are, when you go to him in an urgent moment, if it's an emergency, it's an emergency. Okay, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you're in that urgent space. If you are going before him purposefully, meaning that you have decided I want to pray right now, then do it in a respectful way. Okay? No, I'm serious. Look, you can be in the bathroom, on the toilet, and having an emergency. No, whatever kind of health thing could be happening to you, and whatever condition you're in, you may need to be praying. But if it's not urgent and an emergency, let's try to be a little bit more respectful when you come before him. Okay?
Okay, Yah's daughter has a question. Mm-hmm. How can we know if we have been set apart and for what exactly?
Okay, so part of that is, again, your vertical structure. Okay, who anointed Aaron and his sons? Moses. Okay? Who selected out the leaders when they brought leaders to him and he had to then anoint them to do different things? Okay, these are things that come from leadership. Anointed, appointed are there to help recognize your giftings. All right? Yeshua selected out the people he knew had the talents and gifts he wanted for what he needed to do. He went and handpicked those people. Now, of course, he hadn't really necessarily watched them do anything. He had an insight that was from above in a whole different way. But still, he selected the ones that he knew would do the things he needed them to do. Now, in today's situation, we observe people to identify their gifts. That's why if I were to, and I will be doing this here in April when we get to Passover, if I were to bring some of the men up in front of you and anoint and appoint them as shamashim, deacons, as servants, none of you are going to be like, really? Him? You're all going to look like, of course, that's a no-brainer. We've all seen that person exhibit the gifts of that role. Same thing with, people say, well, what makes you a rabbi? I don't know. Listen to me. See what I do. Watch me. You'll either know or you don't know. You are what you are. Doesn't matter. You can go to yeshiva. You can go to school. You can get all kinds of paper. It doesn't mean you're anything, except that you have paper. Anybody sit in front of a person that came from a seminary or any other place where they had the paper, but they still had no talent and no gift and nothing? As a pastor, as a teacher, whatever it was? You are what you are. Okay, I don't need somebody to, give me some sort of certification and documentation that the thing I see flying with the wings is a bird. I can figure that out. I'm observing it fly and it looks like a bird. So when you listen to someone teach, you interact with them for counsel, you watch them in their different roles, you know what they are. You've all watched some of the men in this congregation that are not yet anointed with any kind of a title, and you know that they already are shamashim. You know that. And when I put them there, you will not be surprised. By the way, they didn't go to classes to learn how to be one. They weren't trained for it in a formal way. It's just who they are. They can't help themselves. Okay, it's what they do. Okay? I don't have to ever ask a shamash if they walk past something that needs doing to do it, because they're already doing it before I can even ask them. There are other people that I can ask and they'll be happy to do it. It's not the same thing. That's not a negative on the person I have to ask. They gladly do it. The shamashes already see it before I could ask them. Or if I go to ask them, they're like, I'm already on my way. I already saw it. I know about it. Don't worry, it's done. That's a mindset. They're already looking for it. They already know how to do what they do. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand? Okay, next question.
Okay, 3 more. We're done.
Okay, good.
Chris Nully has a question about verse 30, verse 8 and 10.
Chapter 30?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Verse 8 and 10. It says, and in the previous chapters, that verse and chapter, and in the previous chapters mentioned throughout your generation, her question is, why do we not keep or do these rituals anymore?
Okay, so that's an important point, and I have that actually listed in, chapter 29 and verse 28. You have the same kind of thing where it talks about a law forever. Okay, all laws, and actually I have a teaching I know I've never done it for you guys. It's a fairly short thing. I call it "How Long Is Forever." Okay, the long and short of it is that forever is for as long as the parameters and the other attached things that are connected to something exist. So they'll say, for as long as the heavens and the earth, as long as you see the sun, the stars, and the moon. You see all these kind of things that are mentioned in Scripture where Yahweh will say things like that. Well, this is all as long as there's a temple and the priesthood and these things. And, for example, the offering, the part of the offering that will be for Aaron and his sons, that part will always be theirs when there's Aaron and his sons and a temple and offerings. Now, when there's no temple, no priesthood, not that the law is done away with, you just can't do it. Okay, so when you see these things throughout the generations, it's for as long as the needed elements are there. Okay? Now, by the way, you don't have any needed element parameters necessary to keep Torah generally in the walk. There's no connected elements to Sabbath keeping that prevent you from doing it today. There's no connected elements to feast keeping that prevent you from doing it today. Now, people can make a case that you need to go to Jerusalem. We could talk about that, okay? I've been in that mindset at times. There's no elements preventing you from eating correctly. But you can't do these priestly and sacrificial and temple-related things without the necessary pieces, okay? And so that's the difference, all right? So when it says throughout your generations, until these things are not doable. So not won't be doable or don't want to do it until you can't do it. So it's the only Torah we don't do today is the things you can't do. Does that make sense? Everybody good? The only Torah we don't do is that which you can't do. I don't mean can't meaning like, well, I struggle to go. No, I mean can't, like literally cannot be done. Nobody can do it. Okay? There's no temple, there's no priesthood, there's no sacrifices. You can't do these things. Why don't we stone anybody? Because you can't properly do that without the nation, the land, the judicial system scripturally put in place to do those things. So you can't do that. You're missing too many pieces. Okay, next question.
Okay, Yah's daughter would like to know if you have a teaching on how to be holy and or set apart.
No. No. There isn't a teaching that's kind of titled that way that would cover that specifically. I mean, it's in a lot of the teachings. I mean, it weaves its way through all the teachings. All right, the main thing is, how are you set apart and holy? When you do what he says and don't do what he says not to do, that sets you apart. Okay? When you don't worship him like others worship their gods, but you only worship him the way he says to do it, that sets you apart. All right? He says, do not, there's a teaching that'll help you with it. We'll give you two of them. What did Yeshua do? And do not do as they do. Okay? Those are probably good. And probably Tameh and Tahor. There you go. I'll give you three of them. All right, go ahead.
Okay, and last question, Olivia and Janet Hoffman. Rabbi, when we pray, approaching our Elohim with proper respect, I have heard it is better to pray standing up, although as a former Catholic, I lean towards being on my knees. Can you kindly clarify?
Listen to Master teach us to pray. Okay, so it makes no difference which way you do it. Often in Scripture, they're laying on their face prostrate. Okay? Other times you see, Solomon and others doing it with their hands raised. Well, it's just hard to do if you're laying prostrate. So obviously they weren't laying prostrate when they were doing that, okay? So I would say that no, there is not a required way to position your body when you pray, all right? I would say be comfortable in case you're going to be there a while. If you're planning to, sometimes people have very short prayers. Sometimes they plan to spend time with Yah, so you want to be comfortable. So find someplace comfortable to sit, stand. If you like, I like to stand when I do a lot of things. I sometimes stand. I stand for all this time during the study. I stand for the 4 hours of service on Saturday. Okay? And so some of you complain about having to sit. I stand the whole time. Want to trade? Okay? But I like to stand. I have a desk that goes up and down so I can stand. And if you walk in my office, some of you are surprised when I actually am sitting because I don't do that really that often. Find a way to do it comfortably. But listen to Master teach us to pray. I think I covered that in the teaching. It's been a long time, so I don't remember, but I think I do. Go ahead.
That is all. We're good.
Fantastic. Awesome. All right, Steve, why don't you go ahead and close us in prayer?
Well, Abba Father, thank you for the evening and ability to gather and to learn your word so we can take it into our hearts and make it our lives and the way we live. In Yeshua's name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Well, actually, I'm really glad that everybody was able to be here. I do want to. I'm praising Yah for all of you that showed up. And I know not everybody can come on a Tuesday night. That's tough. But I do praise Yah that you are able to come and that we're able to have this study with people here. It'd be a little rough if I was standing here by myself just so the live stream could have a study. So I really praise Yah for that. I ask blessings upon you. Those of you that would like to can come up here now, and we're going to wave to all of them out there. And we appreciate all of you out there being online because I know a lot of you don't have a study to go to where you are. And this is the only study you have access to. See, some of the people here are like, well, that's okay. You guys can stay home. We get more time with Rabbi. There we go. All right. I know Manny's typing and then he'll run up here. We're waiting on you, buddy. Yeah, if you're online and we didn't get to cover something, you could always email us and we'll try to cover it as best we can. All right. All right, so on three, we're going to say Laila Tov, which is good night. Shavua Tov, which is have a good week, and then we'll tell them we love them, okay? Here we go, on three. 1, 2, 3. Laila Tov! Shavua Tov! We love you! Oh. Come on now, come on. Ah! Look at that. Look at that. Look what he pulled out there. Ah, there you go. There you go, there you go. I knew he was ready. See? You have a point at any time.
time.
But he's a little green. He still has it in the plastic. He hasn't broken it.
Oh yeah, he literally just
Hasn't
got
broken
it
it
today.
yet.
He got it just today.
Who broke their case Saturday? There was somebody was here that dropped their case. Oh, last Tuesday?
I didn't know.
Somebody was here last Tuesday.
I didn't witness
I think it was Chuck. Chuck dropped his coin.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, last Tuesday.
Surprised he still had it.
Actually, you need to stop.
Yes.